Good morning. This is Rick Gleason and Don King. We're coming to you from the heartbeat of worker health and safety from the University of Washington, Region 10, OSHA Training Center. And Don, tell us a little bit about our special guest today.
Well, I am extremely excited and thrilled that we have a gentleman by the name of Joseph Esty. Actually, his first name is, don't tell me, Laurent.
That's right.
And so I met him the first time I had the pleasure of meeting him was at the governor's conference that we had in Tacoma last year. But fortunately, another gentleman by the name of Dan Miller, I was talking to him the other day, whom we're also going to be talking to, and he said, "You better, if you haven't called Joe Esty, you better." So I did, and here we are. So a little bit about Joe. He's formerly had a company by the name of Prolipsis Training, and he had that for about 21 years, I believe, from 1993 to 2014. And then he sold that and now has joined Lucas Engineering and Management. He's also authored a book called The Tomorrow Tapestry, which has been among America's top best-selling business books in 2008. So we're talking about a gentleman here who's been up and down a few roads and has some great wisdom and things to share with us. So with that, I'm going to say, Joe, give us a couple of ideas about yourself, and then let's get started.
Well, I appreciate being given the opportunity and the honor of speaking with both you gentlemen today about a topic that is primarily and foremost the most important that people have shared with me in the workplace. I started off as a chemical operator. I worked in control rooms, worked out in the field, became a manager. Then I progressed up the line into management, to working with different facilities, trying to implement corporate safety programs and environmental improvement programs. And then at about the age of 35, I decided to take off and do my own thing, helping people outside of our corporation. And like you said earlier, I did that for about 21 years. And I think what I normally used as a platform to help people understand where they're at and where they might want to go was the things that were done to me when I was a chemical operator. Several cases people would want us to improve, but it was a directed edict as to what the expectation was for us, rather than involving us in problem solving and getting us co-invested in the effort.
Yes. Well, that's you're right, Joe. And what we're finding more out there now is people are finally starting to understand that the people who really have the answers to the problems we're trying to solve is the people stand there with dirt on the boots.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we realized, and it wasn't that some of the programs we were introduced to, like peer observations, safety pledges, hazard ID, and control programs or safety suggestions, it wasn't that they didn't have any value, but they were done in such a way they didn't maximize the value. And so they were mainly given to us. We were thrown into them. There was little communication about how we could help an organization succeed. It was more about the numbers being counted in using those programs. So, for instance, in a lot of the peer-to-peer observation programs, it was the number that we did per month, not the quality of the observations that were done each month.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Got it. So Joe, if you were to help work with a company to improve their safety culture, how would you improve on that employee engagement, if you will?
Well, first of all, the only reason why anything succeeds at the individual level is at the organizational level, people consider the benefit, not just the effort that goes into making that change. People will almost never change because there's more effort involved unless they see a greater benefit. So if I'm asked to fill out a certain number of cards, have safety conversations, be involved in the job hazard analysis process, I have got to, as an individual worker, understand the benefit, because it is going to require more effort. And right now, I'm not having to put in that effort, and I'm still getting some type of benefit. So if we want to collectively move forward together, there has to be kind of a weight difference between the amount of effort you're asking me to invest and the benefit we're going to derive from it.
Okay.
So you got to sell me on this benefit. I mean, you have to convince me that it would, in the end, be better if I do this, and I would improve either the company or me or my team or, me as an individual. But
Right.
Okay.
And it can't be just a prescription for my success. And all too often, I work with a lot of managers who are what we call wedding planners. They're really into the big event, and they will spare any expense in order to roll out an initiative. They'll do whatever it takes to introduce an idea to the organization. Unfortunately, they're not so in love with the marriage. So when they after the big day, then they got to put effort into the marriage. Suddenly, all those safety pledges, cards, peer observation reports, feedback sheets kind of get left on somebody's desk, and you'll walk back in, and what should have been a monument for performance, something they can point to and say, hey, look what we've done and continue to do, they become mausoleums. Dead programs with tombstones around the facility. I was in one facility a week ago, and they must have had 8 different safety initiatives done over the last 8 years, all of which read like tombstones. Started on this date, died on this date.
And I'm sure from the worker's standpoint, it's like, oh no, not another safety program of the month. Oh please, we've had this so many times.
Especially when the manager starts off by saying, this is not another safety program of the month.
Yeah.
That's when you know it's coming.
Yeah.
So, Joe, how can we collectively out in the workplace get the baton out of the safety guy's hand for a rollout like this, and understand and have them understand that only that can it be rolled out with management doing it?
That's a great question. I think, and I've worked with a variety of organizations who have varying degrees of success in that area. And if I learned some lessons from the best, number one, the messenger is the message. And if you are introducing a quality program or a safety program, and the person introducing it is the safety director or the quality director, and you're telling people this is not a safety program or a quality program, they're not going to believe you because the person giving them the message came through the quality or safety door. If you really wanted to impact and influence the workplace, it should be the most senior person in the facility with the support of the junior supervisors in the facility, all as a choir singing the same song. And they should be introducing it. Worked with a construction company in Louisiana recently who never allows the on-site safety professional to do the onboarding and safety instruction for subcontractors. It is the superintendent at the job site that gives the safety instruction. And I asked them, why do you have your supervisor doing it when normally in facilities I go in, the safety professional has the duty and responsibility of doing the onboarding for subcontractors? And he said, it's real easy. We have an axiom around here. We believe the safety professional is there to advise and enforce, but the supervisor is there to manage and reinforce our expectations. I thought that was a gem that I wish I would see other companies practice.
I like
that. Says it all. That's really good, Joe. That really is getting it to. I experienced that thing when I was down in California. Every time I get ready to do an orientation, I had a lot of them to do. I would bring the superintendent in and have him start the conversation.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's key. They need to, even if they're not the subject matter expert who's going to do the lengthier explanation about how and what, they need to be the ones who establish the why. The managers need to establish the why. And as a result, when they see them in the field, they know the superintendent doesn't have in their mind a different story or different set of priorities than the safety professional did during the training. So the workers tend to hold the supervisors accountable when the supervisors do the safety training. Because you can't say one thing in the classroom and then be different out in the field.
Exactly.
I think the other way you get them involved, just real quick, is like, for instance, the job hazard analysis. That's a great tool, the task hazard analysis. But it can be a prescription written out by the safety doctor who goes out and takes a look at the hazards and then writes controls that are so loosely worded that people really have to make their own decisions on the job site, like as needed or as applicable or as required, instead of working with the craft or the person in the field and developing the JHA and THA together, and then asking what would be the most legitimate and legal control to use on this job. And by them suggesting what that control would look like, them being the worker, they've also been invested in the decision.
Exactly. Now, what about people that talk about their safety budget? It's not in the budget, and we don't have money for that.
That's real interesting. I have seen a whole gamut, a whole array of different ways to handle that. I think one of the, I don't know if it's practical for everyone, but I worked with a fertilizer company down in California whose safety committee was given a slice of the work management budget every month, and they had to prioritize the work orders that would be done within that budget. And the safety committee would make decisions based on safety suggestions. And once the decisions had been made, in order of priority, what was going to be fixed, they go to management, and all management would do was approve it. They'd say, hey, you guys are the ones who are doing the work. You know what you think are priorities. So in that case, the working level folks were making decisions, and they could look at somebody and say, that might be a concern, but in the big scheme of things, this might be a bigger concern. So they had more of a voice in it. I've seen other people try to use a priority system in work management to, take a budget and try to fix something at the safety level. And unfortunately, everything then becomes a priority one. Everything has a safety connotation to it just to get something fixed. I imagine you guys have seen that in your experience.
Yeah.
But,
Absolutely.
and I don't know, I don't think there's a perfect way for doing that, but I do know that having a safety budget is a challenge when in reality safety can't be divorced from general management of the operation.
Right.
Things
I agree.
Things always have a safety connotation.
Right. In your opinion, Joe, how well do you think most owners of a company really understand how much money is involved in having a good safety program? Really get that?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, I think all too often they disassociate the bottom line with what's being done in the field in terms of prevention. The saying is, production gives you immediate feedback. Throughput lets you know whether you're doing something well. Prevention is always silent. You don't know what it cost you because there wasn't a negative that you're looking at. So good things happened, and because you prevented injuries, well, I really don't know if we wasted our money or not, and if the injuries would have not occurred anyway. And unfortunately, that's how some folks think.
Yeah.
And so as time goes on, and there's an absence of injuries and an absence of misreporting, they tend to get very secure and settled that maybe we're paying too much attention to that and we can back off now. We call it requirements backsliding. When they backslide to where they used to be, then they have an event, and then they regret it, and then put all those things back in place that they took shortcuts on.
Right.
There has been an effort in the nuclear world to try and associate safety with dollars because dollars speak to some people. So they would, in the area of time shielding and distance to keep people protected from radioactive sources or material, they really can't estimate what kind of money you're talking about because nothing bad's happened. But if we assign a certain dollar to the exposure potential, then we can at least use a benchmark about how much to spend in order to to keep that potential from being realized.
Got it. So, Joe, we've been probably going about 15 minutes or so here, and if you were to, give us an overview, compartmentalized review of what could we take away. I mean, we've talked about a bunch of different things here, but of things you like to summarize, and what would be some last thoughts, comments, suggestions?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think don't confuse engagement with amount of people participating or the amount of people showing up at a meeting. Engagement means their head and their heart are into the job in order for them to understand the process and be motivated to follow the process well. The way we do that is to invest them in the processes rather than treat them as a scenery in the process. So in every process we use to try and impact safety, pledges, cards, observations, enroll and enlist their support in how they ought to look, how they ought to be designed, and have a plan for the entire marriage, not just for the day of the wedding when you roll it out.
Got it.
Very good.
Hey, Joe, how could folks get more information or get your book or find you on the internet?
Appreciate you asking. My email is jesty@lucasinc.com. And if you Google Joe Estey, I might be the first three hits you come to, and that's ESTEY.
Okay, very good. And you can get your book online?
Sure, at Amazon or Barnes & Noble or any host of booksellers.
Perfect. I'm going to go get the book. I've read some reviews on it, and it sounds like an exciting book with a lot of good information in it, Joe. So,
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. I have another one coming out hopefully within 3 months.
oh, great.
excellent.
What's that called?
Yeah, and then it's going to be The Safety Future by Design.
Ooh, I like
we
it.
may be calling you back
Yeah, we
in
might
6
have to
months
call you
from
back
now.
and get you back on.
Okay, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I appreciate that greatly, guys.
Absolutely. So, hey, this has been Rick Gleason and Don King coming to you from the University of Washington, the Department of Environmental and Occupational Health Sciences Continuing Education podcast today. And we've been very fortunate to have Joe Estey with us. And maybe final thoughts, comments, Don?
Well, I think given what Joe has shared with us, I think that we're going to go away with our quote for the day called, "Change is the only evidence of life." And that's, I mean, when you look at what Joe's done and where he's at and where he's going, he's just getting warmed up. So, and change is what makes it work. So with that, I will say to everyone, aloha.
I was young and feisty, never did things by the book. Just let me get my toolbox and I'll take myself a look. I climbed up on the dozer with my mechanic's pride. Said, "You can keep it running, friend," while I poke around inside. Shake hands with danger, meet a guy you ought to know. I used to laugh at safety, now they call me Three-Finger Joe. Though I learned a lesson, I forgot it soon enough. The nicks and burns and scratches showed the young ones I was tough. Till another morning, I was grinding on some steel. My other hand got careless and fed my skin into the wheel. Shake hands with danger, step right up and say hello. Grinding wheels and metal, I what made me Three-Finger Joe. I've seen mechanics burning, and I've seen them take a fall just to save themselves a minute, and I've seen them lose it all. I've watched them courting trouble, seen them take a chance and lose. They get careless for a moment, spend a lifetime with the blues. Shake hands with danger. Shake hands with danger. Shake hands with danger. Shake hands with danger. Shake hands with danger and some friends I used to know. Compared to them, I'm lucky to be just Three-Finger Joe.